Julian and Maddalo, A Conversation by Percy Bysshe Shelley. I rode one evening with Count Maddalo upon the bank of land which breaks the flow of Adria towards Venice, a bare strand of hillocks heaped from ever-shifting sand, matted with thistles and amphibious weeds, such as from earth's embrace the salt ooze breeds. Is this an uninhabited seaside, which the lone fisher, when his nets are dried, abandons, and no other object breaks the waste but one dwarf tree and some few stakes, broken and unrepaired, and the tide makes a narrow space of level sand thereon, where 'twas our wont to ride while day was down. This ride was my delight. I love all waste and solitary places, where we taste the pleasure of believing that what we see is boundless, as we wish our souls to be. And such as this wide ocean, and this shore, more barren than its billows, and yet more than all, with a remembered friend I love, to ride as when I rode, for the winds drove the living spray along the sunny air into our faces, and the blue heavens were bare, stripped to their depths by the awakening north, and from the waves sound like delight broke forth, harmonizing with solitude, and sent into our hearts aerial merriment. So as we rode, we talked, and the swift thought winging itself like laughter lingered not, but flew from brain to brain. Such glee was ours, charged with the light memories of remembered hours, none slow enough for sadness, till we came homeward, which always makes the spirit tame. This day had been cheerful but cold, and now the sun was sinking, and the wind also. Our talk grew somewhat serious, as may be talk interrupted with such raillery as mocks itself because it cannot scorn the thoughts it would extinguish. 'Twas forlorn, yet pleasing, such as once, so poets tell, the devils held within the dales of hell, concerning God, free will and destiny, of all that earth has been, or yet may be, all that vain men imagine or believe, or hope can paint, or suffering may achieve, we descanted, and I, forever still, is it not wise to make the best of ill, argued against despondency, but pride made my companion take the darker side. The sense that he was greater than his kind had struck methinks his eagle spirit blind, by gazing on its own exceeding light. Meanwhile the sun paused ere it should alight over the horizon of the mountains. Oh, how beautiful is the sunset when the glow of heaven descends upon a land like thee, thou paradise of exiles, Italy! Thy mountains, seas, and vineyards, and the towers of the cities they encircle. It was ours to stand on thee, beholding it, and then, just as we had dismounted, the Count's men were waiting for us with the gondola. Those who paused in some delightful way, though bent on pleasant pilgrimage, we stood looking upon the evening and the flood, which lay between the city and the shore, paved with the image of the sky. The hoar and airy Alps towards the north appeared, through mist, as heaven-sustaining bulwark reared, between the east and west, and half the sky was roofed with clouds of rich emblazonry, dark purple at the zenith, which still grew down the steep west into a wondrous hue, brighter than burning gold, even to the rent where the swift sun yet paused in his descent. Among the many folded hills they were those famous Euganian hills, which bear, as seen from Lido through the harbour piles, the likeness of a clump of peaked isles. And then, as if the earth and sea had been dissolved into one lake of fire, were seen those mountains towering as from the waves of flame among the vaporous sun, from which there came the inmost purple spirit of light, and made their very peaks transparent. Ere it fade, said my companion. I will show you soon a better station. So, o'er the lagoon we glided, and from that funereal bark I leaned, and saw the city, and could mark how from their many isles, in evening's gleam, its temples and its palaces did seem like fabrics of enchantment piled to heaven. I was about to speak when, "We are even now at the point I meant," said Maddalo, and bade the gondolieri cease to row. "Look, Julian, on the west, and listen well, if you hear not a deep and heavy bell." I looked, and saw between us and the sun a building on an island, such as one, as age to age might add, for uses vile, a windowless, deformed, and dreary pile. And on the top an open tower, where hung a bell, which in the radiance swayed and swung. We could just hear its hoarse and iron tongue, the broad sun sunk behind us, and it told, in strong and black relief, "What we behold shall be the madhouse and the belfry tower," said Maddalo. "And ever at this hour, those who may cross the water hear that bell, which calls them maniacs, each one from his cell, to vespers. As such a skill as need to pray, in thanks or hope, for their dark lot have they, to their stern Maker," I replied. "Oh, you talk as in years past," said Maddalo. "'Tis strange men change not. You are ever still among Christ's flock a perilous infidel, a wolf for the weak lambs. If you can't swim, beware of Providence." I looked on him, but the gay smile had faded in his eye. "And such," he cried, "is our immortality, and this must be the emblem and the sign of what should be eternal and divine. And like that black and dreary bell, the soul, hung in the heaven-illumined tower, must toll our thoughts and our desires to beat below, round the rent heart and pray, as madmen do, for what? They know not, till the night of death, as sunset that strange vision, severeth our memory from itself, and us from all we sought and yet were baffled." I recalled the sense of what he said, and although I marred the force of his expressions, the broad star of day meant we had sunk behind the hill, and the black bell became invisible, and the red tower looked grey, and all between the churches, ships, and palaces were seen, huddled in gloom, and into the purple sea, the orange hues of heaven silently sunk. We hardly spoke, and soon the gondola conveyed me to my lodging by the way. The following morn was rainy, cold and dim. Ere Maddalo arose, I called on him, and whilst I waited, with his child I played, the lovelier toy sweet nature ever made. A serious, subtle, wild, yet gentle beating, graceful without design, and unforeseeing, with eyes, oh, speak not of her eyes, which seem twin mirrors of the Italian heaven, yet gleam with such deep meaning as we never see but in the human countenance. With me she was a special favourite. I had nursed her fine and feeble limbs when she came first to this bleak world, and she yet seemed to know, on second sight, her ancient playfellow, less changed than she was by 6 months or so, for after her first shyness was worn out, we sate there, rolling billiard boards about, when the Count entered, salutations passed. "The word you spoke last night might well have cast a darkness on my spirit. If man be the passive thing you say, I should not see such harm in the religions and old laws, though I may never own such leaden laws, which break a teachless nature to the yoke. Mine is another faith." Thus much I spoke, and noting, he replied and added, "See this lovely child, blithe, innocent, and free. She spends a happy time with little care, while we to such sick thoughts subjected are. As came on you last night, it is our will that thus enchains us to permit ill. We might be otherwise. We might be all we dream of happy, high, majestical. Where is the love, beauty, and truth we seek, but in our mind? And if we were not weak, should we be less indeed than in desire?" Ay, if we were not weak and we aspire, how vainly to be strong, said Maddalo. You talk utopia. It remains to know, I then rejoined, and those who may try find how strong the chains are which our spirit bind. Brittle perchance as straw, we are assured, much may be conquered, much may be endured. Of that what degrades and crushes us, we know that we have power over ourselves to do and suffer what we know not till we try, but something nobler than to live and die, so taught the kings of old philosophy, who reigned before religion made men blind, those who suffer with their suffering kind, yet feel their faith religion. My friend, said Maddalo, my judgment will not bend to your opinion, though I think you might make such a system refutation tight as far as words go. I knew one like you who to this city came some months ago, with whom I argued in this sort, and he is now gone mad. And so he answered me, poor fellow. But if you would like to go, we'll visit him, and his wild talk will show you how vain are such aspiring theories. I hope to prove the induction otherwise, and that a want of the true theory, still which seeks a soul of goodness in things, ill, or in himself or others, has thus bowed his being. There are some good by nature proud, who patient in all else demand but this, to love and be beloved with gentleness. And being scorned, what wonder if they die some living death? This is not destiny, but man's own wilful ill.